Hi, I'm Margie Holmes, psychologist, author, and educator. Today's topic is about female sexuality. Happily, we've had a lot of insights from you about this topic, and for today's episode, we'll focus on the politics of female sexuality. I know it sounds nakaka-OA, but actually, it has to do with real lives and real feelings. Okay, to start with this discussion, here's MA and her insightful take on the term sexuality. She says, "It's funny how people have a weird definition of the word sexuality when most of it doesn't go beyond the sexual activity. They also feel that sexuality and sex should remain as the elephant in the room, or chidingly, a woman should be a Maria Clara outside and a Maria Ozawa inside." Now, for those of you who don't know who Maria Ozawa is, let me tell you, she's a Japanese adult video actress. She is, in fact, the most popular porn actress in Indonesia. Okay, and there is one story that I love. I'll be very quick, and it's called Maid Secret Welcome, and it is a vampire who works in a restaurant, and I guess she sees the people who order, and if she likes them, she starts getting fangs that the men don't like too much. Frankly, I don't blame the men. Okay, now to go back to MA, I believe that our sexuality is what makes people choose the clothes that they wear, decide whether to wear makeup or not, or dates with certain people. To be honest, another reason why I've been so picky with men is because of their easily bruised, hyper-masculine sexuality that just turns me off. You correct them about why females act so and so, or you correct them when they get too sexist and they treat you like buzzkill. I believe that sexual activity and sexuality are embodied in the private and public space. I remember a college classmate tell me that I was the first girl he's ever heard use the word kantutan uttered so casually. This is copulation in English. It's just that it's copulation, but the weight of the word bears so much crude meaning in Filipino that a woman would seem even cruder when she says this. Now, MA, I love everything you say, but if I can disagree with you on a little point, and it's important because many people always say that the English language is more vulgar than the Filipino language, and that's just not true. Iba naman yung bulgar at iba naman yung nakakatama sa atin rito, right? So, kantutan is not equal to copulation. Kantutan is equal to fuck, screw, etc. Okay? And copulation is equal to pagsisiping. Right? So I think we have to start opening our minds to the fact that both English and Tagalog have vulgar words and have scientific words. But if Filipino still hits you in the gut, well, why not? I mean, I would prefer a guy who says, kunwari, "God, you smell so good." I would prefer a guy who says, "Ang sarap-sarap mo." Di ba? Or I don't know if that's just me. I certainly hope not. Okay, now, to continue what I was saying to MA, from your observations, MA, we go to where they can be summed up into questions that we got over and over again, which I call the politics of sex, which is, to put it in real terms, why can men do things that women can't? So, Angelina Sparks Canapi asks questions like, why is it's so difficult for women to ask for what they want in bed? Why do we keep mum about our sexual exploits to a man who is interested in us romantically? What makes women incapable of handling one-night stands? Just as an aside, Angelina, you know, of course, that some women can handle one-night stands beautifully, okay? Another one that Angelina asks is, can a woman express desires? Joey Ramirez, as touched on in Sex and the City, is it true that women have to emotionally attach themselves to a particular mate before they can go to bed? The street wisdom being that men can bang anywhere, but women can't without the emotional component. I think in Filipino, the term is, men can make kiss-kiss sa pader, no? And women cannot. And I think this is the concept. Anything that moves or a pader doesn't move but provides the friction you may want. Mike asks, why is it that there is a social stigma against sexually active females, whereas there is none for sexually active males? Or to quote a student of mine, an ex-student of mine, why is it that when a woman strips, she gets paid for it, but when a man does it, he is hauled to court as an exhibitionist? Well, the subtext underlying all of this, to my mind, is the Madonna-prostitute dichotomy. Women do not seem to have any other options but to be the sainted mother, the sainted wife, who doesn't enjoy sex, who is to be adored, right? And she doesn't seem to even have a body. She just has a soul and a spirit. And the prostitute, of course, is the woman with whom you have terrific sex with. And so the problem is, what happens to your wife once she becomes your wife and not just your girlfriend? I'm sure many women have asked me, and many men have used as an excuse, why is it when we were just girlfriend, boyfriend, my boyfriend was so horny for me? And why is it that now he isn't? I can count the number of times he makes love to me ever since I had the baby or ever since we got married. It is because, in my opinion, and also with my clinical experience, women then become, from being girlfriends, hot and sexy, they become wives and unsexy. Now, Angelina has another take to it. What does feminism and female sexuality have in common with regards to evolution of sexuality? Now, what happened, I think, is that feminism gave a counterexample to sociobiology. Sociobiology says that men inherently like to sleep around, are promiscuous, and yet insist that their women do not, because of the sociobiological reality that to make sure that that child is yours, to make sure that you're feeding and clothing someone who is part of you, you have to be sure your wife is angelic. You have to be sure that your wife doesn't fool around. Okay, that is the sociobiological explanation. But I'd like to remind people, while there might be some truth in it, we have gone so much further than that. And because of the pill, because of other things, we know now that copulation does not necessarily have to lead to pregnancy. And therefore, the excuse that we want to be sure that the woman is pure because we want to sure the child is mine, no longer really holds, okay? So feminism gave us another way to look at it. Feminism says that it's the culture that teaches us to be mahinin. It's the culture that says we have to seem like Maria Claras if we want men to fall in love with us. We cannot be Maria Ozawas. Even though the Maria Clara is a woman to be respected and the Maria Ozawa is a woman to have great sex with. Or, if you'll pardon me for using Filipino, the Madonna is pang-asawa, okay? Pang-asawa. And the prostitute is the one pang-kama. Okay? Anyway, Maria Ozawa, as I said, she's very popular because even if she appears in porn movies, when you look at her website, she looks so innocent. Her clothes are ordinary clothes like I wear, although I may not feel it as well as she does. You know, she shows pictures, Instagram of what she eats, etc. So, you know, I think that juxtaposition of innocence and yet acting in porn movies is very attractive. And in a way, that's good because this is counter to the Madonna-prostitute dichotomy. Here you have a woman who has both. Okay, MM says, I know someone in her 50s who still finds sex talk dirty and bad. And whenever I talk about it, she goes into that kadiri mode, pretending to be a virgin. When I asked her if she still feels like Maria Clara or the Virgin Mary, she insists that she's clean and innocent when it comes to sex. She's not the only one. I've met so many Filipina false virginal sluts who think that sex talk makes them lose their virginity even if they've already got grandkids. Why do they do that? Is that a mental or psychological illness? To be slightly facetious but accurate, if we can call it a sickness, this is called hypocrisy. O kawawa naman siya kasi victim siya. Maybe she was brought up that way and she didn't have the nous, she didn't have the intelligence, and she didn't have the bravery to say, this is what I was taught. But hey, I have my own mind. I don't have to follow what they say. However, maybe we should be patient towards women who are your grandmother's age, because it's during the time they were brought up. I'm not saying because she's 50 or 80, because the younger women who were born during when feminism was on the rise will hopefully be as open, be less hypocritical when they too go to be in their 50s and 60s. So you young'uns, you're really, really lucky because you have a space that you take for granted, a space to question and to aspire to the many variations that are open for you to be a real woman. Another question, another point. Let me drink some water because this is also kind of hits you in the gut. Steve Roger asks, why are so many women attracted to assholes? The dominant alpha male types that women dive on even though they know they will be treated like dirt. One of the truest truisms of teen male life is, in quotes, girls like jerks. And it seems to carry over to adulthood. This is not universal, of course, but out there certainly seems to be a pattern. First, Steve, I'm so glad you said it's not universal, because there are some women who are sort of bright enough, have the nous, to know what sort of men to avoid. Or like the men do, what sort of men, the jerky men, but who have a lot of money, can take you to nice places. Pang-date lang sila, but in terms of marriage, you choose a good guy. A guy who will be a good father and a good husband. Now, I think there are two answers to this, at least very quickly. One is, if the woman has grown up with jerks, especially her father, if her father has not treated her mother right, and therefore has not treated her right, the woman always looks for an older man like her father who will treat her right. The problem is, if you want someone to treat you like a father, you don't have sex with him. But because there are very, very rare men in their 50s who are willing to dine you and wine you and treat you like a real young person, like a father, it's hard to find. So you tend to fall, even though you're not looking for this, you tend to fall for sugar daddies who will, of course, be assholes in the end. Okay? The other thing is, when you talk about jerks, you're talking about con men who women think love them, but don't really. But superficially, they're so convincing. Marunong sila mangbola. They know how to dance, which women love to do. Usually men don't. They dress well. They kiss well. And most of all, they know how to pretend. They know how to pretend that you are the most important woman in their life. And even if they should hit you, right? They will give you a reason like, "Uy, sorry ha, kasi mahal na mahal kita eh." So, nagseselos ako kung pumunta ka o kung sumama ka sa ibang lalaki. And women, some women, not all, are so easy to fall for this sort of line because con men / assholes know how to say things in a very convincing way. And I hope that in time, many, if not all of our women will be a little brighter, a little more able to see the difference between bola at katotohanan. And the last question finally from Sally is asexuality the same as being frigid in women? Absolutely not. Because being asexual just means you're not interested in sex. It doesn't mean that you have a problem. It doesn't mean that you want to get better, you want to go to therapy to feel better. It's just saying, hey, I'm just not the type to be interested in sex, which the asexuals are trying to push is a very valid lifestyle, and I agree. And France, surprisingly, is the one that started April 26. They had the first asexual day, which I think is great. Now, frigidity is a layman's term, okay? It's a little bit judgmental. What it implies is a woman who never enjoys sex, okay? In the olden times, they used to have a saying, no, that there are no frigid women, there are only clumsy men, which is pretty unfair to the men. So sexologists like myself have come up with a new saying, which is that there are frigid women and there are clumsy men, and they're usually married to each other. Okay? Anyway, in my opinion, what has really helped women to be who they are is feminism. Because feminism has allowed both a private and public space where people can talk, where people can argue, where people then, once you argue, then you tend to compare opinions and feelings, no? So what feminism has done is that it has given us permission as well as opportunities to ask ourselves, what kind of woman do I really want to be? And what kind of women do I want the world to think I am? And if you're truly blessed, the two will be the same. The woman you want to be is the woman you want to know. The woman you want the world to know you as. Well, that's it for today. Next week, we'll talk about female masturbation. Send in your questions to Facebook, tweet using the hashtag AskMargie, or send an email to askmargie@rappler.com. See you next week.